In selecting trees to harvest pitch from, this is an example of a tree that's a little bit too small. You can see the bark here, there's some little blisters. Those blisters are big enough to be useful in a small first aid situation for a nick or something, but they're not efficient for harvesting because it just takes forever to get enough pitch from them to add up to anything. Here we see a tree that gives a good illustration of bark that's too old. This here is scaly, it doesn't have any blisters that are really useful. When you come up here, it starts to change. There's a few blisters. There's a bigger blister up here, but these are kind of old blisters. So we want to go for younger bark than this. So if we come over to this tree, we can see the difference. This tree has bark that is scaly right down here at the bottom, but then as we come up a little bit, we're finding lots of blisters. Okay, we're going to harvest our tool for harvesting the pitch straight off the tree. This one's being a little bit tough. Just a pointy stick with a flat side on it. So let's go ahead and poke some of these and see what we find. There it comes. You can use the can to press up on the bottom of the blister a little bit. That one is probably kind of an old blister, but it's still fairly juicy. These are not terribly large, and at this rate we will be here a long time to get enough to be able to strain and collecting it drop by drop. If we can find a place where the blisters have at least 1/8 of a teaspoon each, we'll have a lot faster collecting. We've gotten plenty here to treat a fairly good sized cut already. We try to avoid getting too much bark in the can if we can avoid it, but there's always going to be a little bit. One thing to remember is often the larger blisters are higher up in the tree, and if you want to climb the tree, you need to climb up as high as you want to go before you start popping the blisters, and then work your way down. That way you don't get nearly as much pitch all over your clothes. There we go, that one's better. Okay, there's our find so far.
Okay.
Looks like we might have half a teaspoon. The solvent in pitch is turpentine, which is an oil which doesn't expand when it freezes like water does. So all the evergreen trees are going to have turpentine as the liquid base in the sap. So the runnier the pitch is, in general, the more turpentine it has in it. And then as it dries out, that turpentine evaporates, leaving a thick resin that turns into a hard resin that can turn to powder when the turpentine's gone out of it. Yeah, we're getting probably close to a teaspoon in the can now. We're making progress. This may seem slow, but it's well worth the effort. Of course, we like it when we can find the bigger blisters, but even these little ones are definitely worth collecting.
What time of year is best for collecting it?
Best time is in the spring. Right now it's February. This is kind of the beginning time as the sap starts to rise. March, April, May. It's all good time when the sap is rising. We brought a paper towel with a bit of shortening on it to use for cleanup purposes. So I rubbed it on my hands to help get the pitch off my hands. Now we'll take this piece of fine netting
Organza.
and stick it over the jar. Organza fabric. A rubber band didn't help it stay there. And now there goes the good stuff. And there it is. Now I want to keep the pitch off the mouth of the jar as much as possible. And if some gets on there, we want to clean it off with oil so that we don't end up gluing the rubber gasket on the lid to the jar. One note regarding bottles. We need to use glass bottles, not plastic. Metal lids are preferable. And the other thing is you want to have the bottle as full as reasonably possible so you have a minimum of airspace in the bottle. Because too much airspace allows too much area for the vapors of the turpentine to accumulate in high density. And then when you take the lid off, a lot of turpentine can go out at once. So the less airspace in the bottle, the better. This is a little jam jar. It's a 2-ounce capacity. This is a tiny little jar. It might hold a tablespoon. but it has a plastic lid, so it's probably not the best. We like to replenish our supply of pitch every year because it does dry out on the shelf eventually, even when it's sealed up tight. Now we can clean our fingers off. And we'll go ahead and clean off the mouth of the jar. Turpentine is an oil, and pitch dissolves with oil. So virtually any oil or fat, from coconut oil to cooking oil, motor oil, gasoline, paint thinner, anything of the sort, peanut butter, will dissolve pitch. And once you get it mixed up in the pitch, you can wash it off with soap and water. Now we have the mouth of the jar cleaned. Helps if the threads are clean, so we don't glue the lid on. And we want it sealed tightly. Here we're using a baby food jar, but there are various other jars that also have rubber seals. And you do want it sealed so the turpentine doesn't evaporate out of the pitch too quickly. So there it is, ready to go on the shelf for future use.